Welcome to LAP-2. In this course, you'll learn how to leverage Lectica's recruitment tools to increase recruitment success in any organization. This is the first of 3 Module 1 lectures. In this first lecture, we'll be covering a number of introductory topics, including a few comments about Lectica's past work with organizations, our rationale for expanding our involvement in recruitment, a statement of our vision for the future of recruitment, a short explanation of our instructional approach, our objectives for the course as a whole, and the learning objectives we've set for Module 1. We begin with a little background information. Dr. Dawson and her colleagues, that's me, have been building and conducting research with developmental assessments since 1996. The first lectical assessments designed for the workplace were developed in 2002. These included the LDMA, which is focused on leadership decision-making, the LLRA, which is focused on reasoning about leadership, and the LRJA, which is focused on reflective judgment and critical thinking skills. Lectical assessments have been used to support and study learning and development since 2004, and are now used by dozens of consultants in training and coaching contexts and in numerous studies of development and its impact. The first use of lectical assessments for recruitment purposes occurred in 2006, and we're pleased to say that our very first recruitment customer is still with us, using lectical assessments as part of its recruitment process. To date, recruitment use of our assessments outside of our own organization has primarily been in senior and executive level management. As you know, Lectica's mission is to make it possible for everyone to learn and develop optimally. So it may seem odd that we recommend using our assessments for recruitment. At one time, we thought so too, but not anymore. That's because experience has taught us that people not only learn better when learning challenges are just right, they also work better when work challenges are just right, when there's a good fit to role. By providing tools that help employers achieve the right balance between role requirements and incumbent skills, we can improve fit to role. The evidence strongly suggests that fit to role should be the primary objective of recruitment processes because it not only increases recruitment success, but also predicts greater engagement, happiness, quality of communication, productivity, and even the health of workplace culture. Lectica's recruitment products improve fit to role in 2 ways. First, they employ assessment tools that help predict how well a candidate is likely to perform in a given role. Second, they employ forms of assessment that help all recruits continue to develop essential workplace skills. As you will learn in this course, conventional recruitment processes don't do a great job meeting the pre-hire objective and don't even attempt to meet the post-hire objective. For our purposes, fit to role means achieving an ideal balance between an individual's level of skill and the complexity level of role requirements. When we achieve fit to role, we're also setting up conditions that support engagement. Here's how it works. In the workplace, the challenges we're expected to face should be just big enough to allow for success most of the time, but not so big that frequent failure is inevitable. We call this balance point the Goldilocks zone because it's where the level of challenge is just right, for 3 important reasons. First, and most obviously, it's not good for business if people make too many mistakes. Second, if the distance between employees' level of understanding and the difficulty of the challenges they face is too great, employees are less likely to understand and learn from their mistakes. This kind of gap can lead to a vicious cycle in which, instead of improving or staying the same, performance gradually deteriorates. Third, it's when a challenge is just right that we're more likely to have fun working and feel motivated to work even harder. This is because when challenges are just right, our efforts produce success just often enough to ensure the release of pleasure hormones called opioids that give us a sense of satisfaction. And these opioids have a second effect. They trigger the release of dopamine, the striving hormone, which motivates us to set a new challenge so we can experience the satisfaction of success once again. The dopamine opioid cycle will repeat indefinitely in a virtuous cycle, but only when enough of our learning challenges are in the zone. And as long as the dopamine opioid cycle keeps cycling, we feel engaged. When you're explaining the engagement benefit to potential clients, you'll need some examples that are real for you. This is a good place to pause for a bit of reflection about engagement and what it really means on the ground. Take a few minutes to consider how you might respond to the following questions. What is your experience with engagement in the workplace? What keeps you engaged? What causes you to disengage? Do any of your personal experiences with engagement, your own, the team's, your supervisors, relate to fit to role? What are some of the emotional, relational, or behavioral consequences that might be associated with poor fit to role? As you think through your responses, make a note of any anecdotes that might help you argue more persuasively about engagement and its relation to fit to role. When you're done, you can pick up where you left off. By the way, notice that we're not asking you to review what you just learned or take a test to see what you've committed to memory. Instead, we're asking you to connect what you've just learned to what you already know. People who routinely do this kind of reflection every time they learn something new grow faster and longer than people who don't. Engaged people are happy people. Well, not really happy like the people in the picture. They experience a kind of happiness that's more like satisfaction. People are also happier when they feel they can communicate effectively and build understanding with those around them. In fact, when we get role fit right in an entire team, we're also building a team with members who are more likely to understand one another. When team members think in complexity levels that are too far apart, they have trouble understanding one another. This is because even the same words and phrases are often understood differently at different levels of complexity. But if they all think in exactly the same complexity level about everything, they may not challenge one another adequately. A complexity range of 10 to 20 points on the lectical scale is likely to work well for most teams. Team members are happiest when they are confident that, with reasonable effort, they ultimately can arrive at a shared understanding with other members. When we get role fit right, we're also ensuring that supervisors are slightly more complex thinkers than their subordinates. People tend to prefer leaders they can look up to, and most of us intuitively look up to people who think a little more complexly than we do. When it comes to direct supervisors, if we're as skilled as they are, we tend to wonder why they're leading us. If we're more skilled than they are, we're likely to feel frustrated. And if they're way more skilled than we are, we may not understand them fully. Most people work better with direct supervisors who perform 15 to 25 points higher than they do. In other words, we're happiest when our direct supervisors challenge us, but not too much. Sound familiar? Unsurprisingly, all this engagement and happiness has an impact on productivity. It turns out that individuals work more productively when they're happily engaged. And teams work more productively when their members communicate well with one another. Finally, by consistently putting the right people into the right roles, we increase happiness, engagement, communication quality, and productivity. And if we leverage lectical assessments to support individual and team development, we also support the continuous development of individual and interpersonal skills. The result? A well-structured, engaged, and happy workforce that's equipped to interact, learn, and adapt, all of which are core defining characteristics of healthy organizational cultures. Before we move on, let's pause again to apply and reflect. Imagine that you're presenting our argument about the benefits of getting fit to role right. We've provided a quick summary here. We've argued that getting fit to role right makes it possible for people to work and interact in the Goldilocks zone. That working and interacting in the Goldilocks zone increases engagement. That conditions that create sustained engagement also increase happiness, productivity, and communication quality. And that increases in happiness, productivity, and effective communication contribute to organizational health. What is one possible objection to this argument, and how might you respond to this objection? I recommend that you pause this video for a few minutes while you stretch your legs and consider a response. We'll close this introduction to Module 1 of LAP-2 by taking a look at the vision that guides us, our learning approach, and our goals for the course in this module. At Lectica, when we think about the future of recruitment, we envision healthy, effective organizations characterized by engaged, happy, productive, and constantly developing employees and teams. We plan to achieve this vision by reducing the cost of recruitment so that best practices can be employed at every level in an organization, improving predictions of fit to role now and in the future with our learning technologies, broadening the definition of fit to role to encompass the role, the team, and the position of a role in the organizational hierarchy, and promoting the seamless integration of recruitment with employee development strategy and practice. We want you to get the most out of this course. So LAP-2 is designed to foster virtuous cycles of learning, what we call VCALs. Cycles of goal setting, information gathering, application, and reflection. People learn faster and better when they VCAL. We're using them in several ways. First, we've designed mega VCALs into the course. Mega VCALs take an hour or more to complete and often contain several mini VCALs. In LAP-2, these will involve gathering information through pre-recorded lectures and readings, and applying information and reflecting on outcomes, which you'll be doing in home play reflection questions and assignments and live interactive sessions. We've also included embedded activities designed to support mini VCALing by embedding mini VCALs between topics in lectures and activities. If you've been pausing to do the apply and reflect activities in this lecture, you've already had a taste of one form of mini VCALing. And we're also including something called micro VCALs. We'll be illustrating how to use tiny micro VCALs to support what we call every moment learning by embedding several examples in lectures. Every moment learning is a habit of mind that requires learning to recognize and pause long enough to benefit from the dozens of tiny learning opportunities that occur each day. You can learn more about VCAL by viewing the short YouTube videos shown on this slide. Even if you've already seen these videos, we encourage you to watch them again, this time with the purpose of learning something you can use to help clients understand the value of Lectica's approach to recruitment. For LAP-2, we've set 3 broad learning objectives. First, in order to provide you with the language of HR, we plan to leave you with a strong sense of how recruitment is positioned within the human capital value chain. Second, we plan to provide you with the background knowledge you need for a solid understanding of the language of recruitment and recruitment processes and practices, with a focus on assessment. And third, we plan to prepare you to explain, market, and work with Lectica First and the LEAD Suite, including our capability, fitness, and compatibility assessments. In Module 1, our planned learning outcomes are to prepare you to explain the basic rationale for incorporating lectical assessments into recruitment processes, describe how lectical assessments can be integrated into the human capital value chain, describe the value added by lectical assessments, and evaluate the quality of recruitment assessments. You've reached the end of the first Module 1 lecture. Before you move on to Lecture 2, which focuses on the human capital value chain, We recommend that you explain what you learned in this lecture to a friend or colleague. Afterward, ask for feedback about the clarity of your explanation and their reaction to the information.